which will be reviewed on a weekly basis. It is further resolved that citizens visiting Texas County should continue to exercise extreme caution with respect to public and business activities, especially those involving personal contact with the public. All businesses are strongly encouraged to implement policies and practices that will ensure maximum extent possible that persons entering their businesses are afforded recommended personal information and other protection. And in the last deal said it is further resolved that due to commissioners not having regulatory authority, that each city and town within Texas County consider make appropriate measures to the further protect the health, safety, and welfare of the citizens. And you know, I got to agree with Chief Watley. The one reason we did this is because over the last few days we've had 7 cases, 9 cases, 13 cases, 15 cases. So I can't see that we're keeping our level at all. We're still going up. And so we felt it necessary to keep the courthouse closed for the safety of our people and to be able to continue work there. I will tell you that since we did this morning, we found out this afternoon that we have positive cases. There are 2 of them that as I understand, that they have both been home quarantined since last Thursday. They were both tested on Friday, from what I understand, and found out today that they were positive. So we're taking steps there as far as everybody in the courthouse is going to start wearing masks. If anybody gets feel like they have any of these symptoms, we get tested. But that's what we did today, and again, I will leave this with you. Still here to get to
the city manager.
And like I say, we know that we have no jurisdiction whatsoever within any of the cities in town. Since we passed that this morning, I've already been told that the only reason the county commissioners were coming here tonight was so we could petition you all to keep everything closed.
No, you were here. I invited you to come here.
I'm strictly here just to tell you what we did as board of county commissioners in our courthouse, because that courthouse is the only thing that's not created. So that's what we
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming. And once again, I invited Commissioner Jack Strain to come give us the overview of the meeting that they had earlier today. And he was here strictly on invite, and he agreed to come. And thank you for coming.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jack, can I ask a question? Was that mainly because you wanted, I mean, the reason for closing the courthouse was mainly to protect the people who work there?
Yes, I mean, because otherwise we have no control over who comes in and who doesn't.
Right.
And we've got a person sitting there out there, we've been in the courthouse and all, but just like it was back here tonight, we've got a person sitting out there that takes up other stuff. Matt Foley was covered with the testing stickers the other day, because he went in the courthouse about 4 times, and got temperature taken every time they gave him the stickers, so he was putting on stuff. We are still testing everybody and what we do.
Thank you.
One thing, this morning I was on a conference call with the Mayor's Council Board of Directors, and most of the other 18 mayors from around the state. And this topic came up, and it was basically the consensus was to take about the same stance as the county has, to warn people, to be responsible for your own actions, I guess, is part of it. But also, it was brought up that if your community feels like you need to keep your city hall locked down or restrict access, that's within your right and purview. But most of it was that most of the conversation was to go forward and let the governor's orders go through, because they're out there and everybody knows that they want to open up, and And if you need to stay sheltered in place, stay sheltered in place. You know, again, public responsibility was, or personal responsibility was the big topic, I guess I would say. And we don't want anybody to get sick, that's for sure.
No, that's for sure. And we followed every mandate the governor has put out, so that's, everybody has to be responsible for their own person and their own families.
Yeah. Mr. Dunham, if we do go ahead and open up the restaurants and such, will the city hall remain closed?
Yes. For right now, I don't see us opening up. I think we're going to try to reevaluate it. We'll reevaluate it on a weekly basis. Starting, I mean, we had a meeting today, talked about it. We'll meet again on Friday and talk about it and see how things have changed, if they have changed. But I would not anticipate opening up City Hall until the state opens up for the phase 2, which would be around May 15th.
So
and then everything's going to kind of have to be in place. We're going to have to be seeing some changes in our staffing and within the community, because we've got at least 3 employees right now out due to being quarantined, state ordered quarantine. We've had several in the past, over the past 2 or 3 weeks that have been out and then gotten cleared and come back. But so right now we do have three people that have been told by the health department to self-quarantine.
Thank you.
My question's for you, Chief Wadley. Who's managing these? So if someone administers a case, right, they test them and they come back positive, who then, does someone follow up regularly with them and make sure, I mean, how do we, I know we can't police every case, right? We're not going to send the police over and make sure they're still in their house, but does someone check on them is my question.
Where's this data that we are supposed to review before phase 2?
I would imagine it would just be off what our case number's doing. I think if we adopt this, and this is my opinion, you tell me if I'm wrong, is if we adopt this and every day it continuously is rising 20 more or 50, 20 more, then I would say it's not flattening out, it's not going down. Now, if we just stay at, a couple a day, once we feel like we hit a peak and then it just continuously cruises at 3 to 5 cases, you're probably flattened out by that point, I would think, but.
Because Governor Stitt, he talked about data. If we meet this data point, we'll open phase 2 and so forth,
I believe the governor is also looking at the data from the rest of the state, just the rest of the state is kind of on plateau, almost starting to go down, Pakistan.
Except for Texas County out here, that's not the case here.
So Grant, correct me if I'm wrong on this. Originally, social distancing, all these phases, all this was put in place to give, it's not for probably me healthy with not a lot of underlying conditions getting the COVID. It's to make sure we have the medical facilities in case so we don't overrun them, correct? That's the reason for the social distancing. At some point, we're probably all going to get the coronavirus, unfortunately. So we want to make sure we have the medical facilities open to do that. That's the reason for this social distancing. That's what slowed it down. Is that right or wrong? That's my understanding from.
Mine as well, not to overwhelm the medical industry.
And I guess that's where I sit.
Because we
tonight,
don't
is if
have.
we're not overwhelming that.
Right.
Where do we sit? I don't want to try to solve issues we don't have yet, because at some point, we're all going to run through the CV-19 or whatever you want to call it. All the what? Depression medicine? Yeah.
Right now, if people with those problems count up and have COVID on top of that, and have even worse ones. And we have a large portion of people who also have heart failure and COPD and emphysema, heart bronchitis, asthma. Those that carry over on top of problems, a large portion of our population have that.
Do you think Texas County, do you think we need to start our own database with our own numbers?
We actually have a task force that's doing that.
Okay,
We're running some roadblocks with the health department.
when was this established?
3 4 weeks ago.
Okay,
They have their access downstate, with the health department, who is in charge of this entire independent state of
okay.
They will go. Product two, get a state settlement. All the first case in Texas County. Case out of Clipper, but was actually was found out by Facebook by an individual because the state inspectors, they know. And it took them 7 days. To tell Oklahoma, to tell us, and all that. So, Texas, I'm
So that's where your data's coming from, this task force?
some of it is, but the task force has to be in line with what the state is putting out also. We have to make sure that the numbers are correct. So these 85 numbers, I can tell you are correct.
Okay.
I will tell you there's an increase. If we know some others that are positive, the state has not got yet. So it has not used it. So we're not going to, but I hope we have more because the state is doing this.
So tomorrow when it's climbs, that directly comes from the Oklahoma Health Department? Okay.
Are most, so, and you may not know this, but I read online, obviously, Ford County's hot right now with this virus. Correct. And what I read on an article that was released by someone up there by Dodge, can't remember who, was most of these cases were not coming, they were mainly younger people from issues of social distancing not going on outside of work. Is that a common trend that people are seeing? Okay. So of these 85, do you have a percentage that are hospitalized roughly?
The last 48 hours, I've been advised 6. None of them hospitalized.
Those are the only ones that you currently.
That I'm aware of. 3 less.
And we ship those out, is that right, Grant?
If we go ahead and open up the restaurants now, the bars are supposed to remain closed until May 15th. What about a restaurant that serves liquor? Will they be able to serve liquor?
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
It's a restaurant.
So will they be able to serve alcohol?
Yeah.
I think what I what I saw, what I read into the thing is part of the, for restaurants and establishments like that, is you gotta observe, you can only have 50% of your occupancy, I think, in the building. You have to go to social distance on your tables, and you gotta have, like, every other booth's gotta be vacant. But I guess I would assume that if they can't set at the bar, I don't know. I don't know all the rules.
That's my take on it. I mean, we've followed the governor's mandates up until now. It's just, we need to, in phase one, review the data on the given date or before the given date for phase two. And if it's climbing, like Mayor Livingood said, then we possibly need to step on the brakes a little bit. That's my opinion.
So do we have a way to enforce phase the rules? If, I mean, to Kim's point, if it's tables, social distancing, I mean, is there a way to make sure someone's not violating or they're at 50% occupancy? I mean,
Well, I guess I'm gonna put my business out here. We're gonna make sure that people do, because I want people to be able to come in and, you know,
right.
whatever, but again, it's like, if you're running a temperature, if you got the signs or whatever, stay at home. I mean, and that's a simple deal, but also the phase one that we gotta also consider is that, this weekend churches can start going back. Some of them are, some of them aren't. And movie theaters can open up, so.
And there are going to be those people that are still going to practice safer at home. I mean, it's all going to depend on the person and the family.
What about the people that don't follow the rules? And I've already heard that we have one in particular that is not wearing a mask or gloves, but getting haircuts. And that's, you know, are we going to enforce the rules? Or how are we going to enforce it?
Well, my understanding is that if we will enforce the rules by complaint, I mean, we're not gonna have police officers go into businesses and randomly check. It'd be by complaint, that we would address it. Then we'd have the police, we would go one and say, business owner, here's the rules. And then if they continually violated the rules, after we'd made several attempts to get them to conform, we would have the police go down and issue a warrant. Is that, am I saying that right?
No, we don't have ordinances that really allow prosecution in the city. This action is, that prohibits activities is a state action. And my view of it is, our officers can make the report to the district attorney's office.
Right.
And at that point, it's up to them to do whatever they have the power to do under state law. But we don't have, our ordinances don't address enforcing a regulation in connection with a communicable disease.
Enforcement would be at the state level.
Pardon?
Enforcement would be at the state level.
That's what I think.
It's good to know.
Any other discussion?
I received a phone call about dentist office. Mr. Dunham, is there anywhere listed here about
There was
dental offices?
There was a new executive order amendment come out today
Okay.
that does address dental offices until that they would remain closed until May 1st.
Till May 1st?
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then in there, does it give what requirements they must have? I think the concern is the lack of PPE. Obviously, most of the PPE's been given to the hospital system, rightfully, for a good reason. But do they have guidelines they have to follow through the state? I couldn't find anything. 'Cause I had to call
In
the
the
dentist office as well.
executive order where I read through the changes that have been made, I could not see any areas where they were giving any criteria as far as opening or closing. Just trying to find the.
But most of them they follow those.
Right,
PPEs
From the
before
moment you
it's all
walk
started.
in, they have PPE and changing everything all the way up. So say we go forward with this, will we have a weekly meeting discussing the data? And if it spikes, we will think about it?
Probably should through this time.
I think through this time, it's in our best interest to meet weekly, and if it spikes, it's kind of hard to justify moving forward, to phase 2. My thought. I don't know. You guys have any?
The chief just told us he thinks we're gonna spike in 2 or 3 weeks. But we haven't spiked yet.
Everything's showing it's gonna spike.
And it's kinda hard to put the genie back in the
You're saying we're
bottle.
spiking now, we won't see a plateau for 2 weeks.
And it's gonna be awful hard to get people to stop once we let them loose.
Yeah, I don't think you can get it back.
Well, the day that that this deal rolled out, within 30 minutes, the beauty shops were taking appointments,
Yeah.
so.
Once again, it's gonna fall on the business owner and the person making the visit to wherever they're visiting.
I would say that if somebody is over 65 or is in that vulnerable,
High risk.
high-risk individual, whether they're harassment or not, they probably ought to be staying home.
I think that's in his order still. In phase 1, it still says no visitation of nursing homes over the age of 65 or underlying
Well,
health issues. You still,
I'd have a question of Mr. Petty. If, let's say, we go forward this resolution and we see a tremendous spike in the next 2 days, can the mayor could issue an executive proclamation, couldn't he? Or would it be better to have an emergency council
I question the power of the city.
in this deal?
As I read this, we don't have an ordinance that allows statutes, and the only statute I find that for an organization or an agency that can impose rules and regulations in connection with communicable diseases is the State Board of Health. And of course, the governor can act on that. That's where it has to come from.
so if we move forward, we can't do anything to.
All we can do, I think, is encourage people to observe the governor's guidelines that have been published. And in the event of a violation of those, report that to the district attorney's office. And that's,
So I guess
we've just got some limitations.
here's
on what we
another
can do.
question. So let's say we decide not to move forward, right? And a restaurant decides, hey, the governor said May 1st I can open. We can't do anything unless.
I think that's right.
That's how I
The
understand.
governor is basically.
So basically, whether we want to open or not, the governor has said open, and they're going to supersede what a municipality is going to want to do regardless.
Yeah,
No, I
I
thought
don't
the
find
governor
any
was leaving it
authority
up
for us to
to.
stop it.
He is, but for
But
enforcement.
we don't have any enforcement.
You have no
It's just like
enforceable option.
Oklahoma City did
But
not
they-
allow
But they may have had an ordinance on the book that they could have
Yeah, we currently
reverted
don't,
back to.
so we have no way to enforce any of these rules.
Well, I'll tell you, as a business owner that's been open since this thing started, I wonder every day who's walking in my door. And, you know, will the day be my day or my help's day? And it's not any fun, I'll be honest with you.
Well, I think that's, you know, I've been working out and about, going through facilities for a month now, and come in contact with a lot of people every single day. And I think the only thing you can do as a citizen is wear proper PPE around others. Obviously, sanitize yourself.
Where do you get them?
Sanitize
your mask,
yourself,
Mr. Patty?
and then at
There's
home.
ladies all over town, Bill.
Yeah.
We've bought them.
Yeah.
And then I think you got to protect yourself when you're at home. If you have a family, keep your kids home. Designate one person to go to the grocery store and be out. Obviously, I'm out, so I'm the grocery store runner, and I go get those things to try to keep my family safe. But I think it's ultimately going to come down to, if the governor said to open, we don't have a way to enforce it. It's going to come down to the individual, the head of house, or whoever is in charge of that family to police themselves. We don't have an ordinance to cover
Well,
those things.
it boils down to, we've all been put in a very tough position here with no enforceable rights up on us to enforce it. And where I personally have gotten myself to through this meeting, and Mr. Wadley, thank you. I know you answered a lot of questions, but the intent of this, at the end of the day, I still say, was to make sure our medical facilities could handle the load
I believe so.
And catch our PPE
and
up.
catch our PPE up, which I think to some extent we've done. I know my little neighbor lady has made over 200 masks that she's handed out to the sheriff's office and everybody else. But I think we're there to some point, to Sean's point, at some point we have to protect ourselves too.
Every citizen needs to review the open up and recovery safely plan. There's the phases are, do we have that posted on our website?
It should be, but I'll
Okay.
double check.
If not, it's at the Oklahoma
It's on the
CDC.
Oklahoma Department of Commerce's website, for sure.
Yes, sir. And those phases are laid out and what everybody should be following. It's gonna be up to every citizen to follow the rules and regulations. And that's what it boils down to.
So basically, what we did back March 17th, we actually shouldn't have done that either.
Well, we were following,
We're following the-
we were following the state mandate.
Yeah, but if somebody wanted to stay open, we legally couldn't have done anything about it.
The state could have,
State.
because they were shut down.
I think
It's my, I mean, that's my
And that's the way
understanding.
we were addressing it.
the state is, I mean, at a minimum, the enforcement.
We would make our report, you know, if it was like it was at the start of this, the Open Up Safely plan wasn't released, and there were people opening that should not have been, we would go to them, make contact, advise them they were not supposed to be open due to the governor's order. And if they were flat ignoring us, we would have turned it over to the police for them to make those reports with the district attorney's office.
The one other thing I think we do need to consider when we follow this, and I don't know that we have an option, is we are putting Mr. Wadley's personnel at somewhat at risk dealing with the spike, and that's what makes this decision tough too, I'm sure for him also. So, I mean, it's not an easy decision, but
We're working to keep our staff as safe as we can possibly keep them. I know that Chief Wadley's EMS staff, if they know that it's a COVID-related case, of course, what his report to me was is that they go out in full hazmat gear.
Well, I did call the health department this afternoon to get their opinion, and they, like Chief Wadley said, that we're not even close to the peak, and they actually, in their opinion, advise not to reopen. But if we don't have any authority to do anything, if the governor says do it, then, you know, we'll see what happens.
In your visit with them, are they in need of help? Do they need more state help?
They said they've been so busy that they just literally don't have time to worry about anything right now except for, I'm sure they do need more help. You know, I don't know anybody in the medical field right now that wouldn't need more help.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Well, in following state mandates like we have been following, we've been following the governor's orders up until today. And if we meet on a weekly basis, review the data, hopefully the task force has handed the data over to the health department by then and before our weekly meetings, then and we have no real enforcement authority over it. I make a motion of opening of businesses according to the state of Oklahoma, open up and recover safely hours plan, item 3.
I will second it.
I have a motion and a second.
Peterson,
Aye.
Swager,
Aye.
Alvedras,
Aye.
Egger,
Aye.
Livingood.
Aye.
We've got 5 ayes.
Item 4, we will stand adjourned. Thank you.
Please say, don't do it.